In The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time on the N64 and the remake of the 3DS, there are strange statues to be found within the courtyard of Hyrule Castle. When Link sneaks in to meet Zelda for the first time in person, we encounter them standing proudly in the garden. These statues have not really been explained very well, and not much is known about them. Their history seems to be lost in time. However, I would like to jump into it and explain a little further to understand what I see in these statues. So to explain what they could represent, we need to go back to the beginning of the location and its history. Hyrule Castle is a medieval castle that was once built in the center of the land. The architecture of the castle appears to be European in nature. However, it hasn't always been like this when you look into the timeline. The castle was once built long before the story of The Legend of Zelda The Minish Cap, when the Hyrule Kingdom was founded after The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. The castle survived many eons of raids from evil wrongdoers, until we played The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It is in this game that the castle eventually meets its demise by Ganondorf in the future. But in the present with young Link, the castle still stands high and tall guarding the kingdom. In Skyward Sword, before the goddess Hylian fought against the forces of evil with the rest of the civilizations across the continent, there already was a kingdom forged by human hands. These humans, that you could call the Proto-Hylians, or the ones that came before, worshipped the sun and the stars in all its glory. They thanked the goddesses for creating their freedom to live, and they protected the sacred Triforce, a powerful creation of magical life force and energy that was given to them in return. These humans are the ancestors of the Sky Loftians. Together they created a large historic culture that expanded all across time. Some of it was left forgotten, and some of this still survived till this day. The statues of the courtyard are still memories of this great time, when the castle was built in happiness and prosperity. In the N64 version, or the original version of Ocarina of Time, we see that there is a figure in the middle, with 4 small entities holding up their hands into the sky. Down under in the middle of this large symbolic marble statue is the Triforce carved into it. This clearly resembles someone really important for the Hylians in history, and it isn't just a random placement done by the sculptors of the past. The next statue on the other part of the courtyard is a man that appears to stand all on his own. This man stands tall and relaxed, with his arms and hands up around his waist. Nothing else can be said about the man, as it is really clear to see what he is doing other than standing still, looking up. But the fact that he has a statue dedicated to him means that he was once important too. Now the 4 characters standing holding up their hands up high is nothing but an iconic way of saying that this character is divine, or was once worshipped by the divine. The 4 characters are unfortunately duplicated assets to make a cool side of it, and this was changed later in the remake. But still, these characters are still important, and they seem to look like women dressed in tunics, which have names, and I will go over that later. The character in the middle seems to have particular armor on, and seems to wear a skirt. He has no pants on, and his legs are naked as it is clearly visible. His feet are barely noticeable, but I have a feeling that he isn't wearing any shoes, as the remake version has it exactly the same way. The figure seems to be holding 2 things in his hands. Both are very hard to notice, but his right hand carries something huge and strange, almost resembling a giant stake of some kind. It's really hard to make out what it exactly is. The left hand seems to hold a large hammer, or it's even a giant lance in the little cloud of fire or a bush. Nothing much can be said about these things, as they are barely visible. The character also seems to have long hair, or has a robe over his head. The hair looks more promising to me, but let's continue with the remake version. Now, the remaster or remake version of the 3DS shows us way more details now. A lot more explanations can be made here. I do feel that the developers decided to mess around with this statue, because now we have 2 clear ladies holding up their hands up high, and a mighty character standing in the middle, not looking all that happy to me though. The Triforce is clear, and now it even has wings on the 2 sides of it. I have a lot to say about this figure, so let's start right away. The man that stands tall in the middle is of course an important figure in the history of Hyrule, but I also feel that this statue was not a sculpture designed in the Hero of Time era. I believe that this statue goes back at least to the foundation of Hyrule, when Hyrule just started growing. The royal family, especially Zelda's heritage, always wants to research and understand the world around them. This trait is something we can clearly see in Breath of the Wild, and even the mother of Zelda, the queen herself, was said to have gifts of future sight. This future sight gave them the ability to see heroes or calamities from the future. The time that this statue was sculptured marked exactly the same time frame of the early Proto-Hylians. There are several clues as to why I think this. For starters, the clothing that the two women are wearing matches the same time era. Now in modern times they can easily be recreated by a sculpture designer, but he must know the exact history of his ancestors to recreate such a thing. The clothing that the women are wearing are called chiton or kithon. Some other forms are also called peplos. It was a very common thing, but over the years we can see these clothing usually in other video games that are Greek inspired, or usually it matches Greek mythology. You could see these beings as divine angels flying in the clouds. Next is that all the statues here are barefoot. This was to show that these characters are also part of divinity, as a barefoot person in that particular era meant that they do not need any protection of the elements and that they are mighty and strong. In Greek mythology, you usually see divine characters just standing on their bare feet. It is a show-off to determine that they aren't scared of mortals. Only important powerful personas usually show this. Next up is the skirt that the man has on. This is a Greek Romanesque defensive skirt called the terouges. I hope I pronounced that well. It's a part of armor that was designed to protect the hips and waist of the person. It clearly shows that the man was more of a soldier or general of the past, and not a knight like in the Hero of Time era. All the knights in Ocarina of Time show entire different clothing or armor sets, but one part of the evolution of armor has stayed, which we go over soon. Next is the chest armor that the man has on. This chest armor name is the Muscle Curious. This armor set was designed in antiquity to show off the manly physique. It was a pretty standard outfit in the later Roman times, but originated from the earliest of Greek culture, going back at least 480 BC. The next part of his armor is the circle attached on his chest. This emblem can be explained as two things. The first we can explore is called the linothorax. The word lino stands for linen, coming from the flax plant, and the word thorax means chest or breastplate. The one I used in this video is a reconstruction of Alexander's the Great armor he used to wear, but the idea is the same. The emblem was designed to be a protective amulet against pain or evil. This same idea goes back to the Gerudo that still carry their rubies carved into their armor as a form of magical protection. Even Ganondorf still has this ideology carved into his being. If you still do not believe that this is an armor set of the past Proto-Hylians, even in Tears of the Kingdom, the Zonai helmet resembled that of a Roman centurion, which evolution traces back to the Greeks again. The interest in Greek antiquity is clearly there, which is why I always say that the Hylians are not based on medieval Europe like a lot of people seem to believe, but classical Greek mythos instead. For the hair part, some theories suggest that it might be long hair, while others say it is a rope attached on his head. I feel that they are both correct in some way, but to me it seems to be long hair. That wouldn't be really useful in battle, I would say, but this is a divine person, so it doesn't really matter in the end of the day. The next statue that has been upgraded shows an interesting symbol down under the statue, and this time we can clearly see the man visible. His tunic is still there, and it seems nothing has really changed. However, I'm not sure if this man is wearing a toga this time, and not as his chest is more visible now. The man is staring to the right, smiling a little bit, and looks very Hylian with the pointy ears. His hair is styled to the back of his head, clearly showing a good hygiene and care for himself. It shows that, when the statue was designed, that the man was from important status, and I don't think this statue and the other one are the same people. To explain that further, we need to talk about the symbol down below first. I've read that theories claim that this symbol is a fleur-de-lis, as the fleur-de-lis looks awfully a lot like the Hylian symbol I've spoken about in my Hidden Symbols of Hyrule video that you can see here. But I disagree. I think this symbol is called the palmette. The palmette is a stylized fan motif. It symbolized rebirth, fertility and the sun, which corresponds a lot with the sun symbolism found in The Legend of Zelda. It is also said that this symbol came all the way from Egypt, long before the Greeks adopted it. If the Proto-Hylians' rise to power are identical to the Greek mythology and history, then it's easy to assume that this symbol survived throughout the ages, and the Hylians still use it till this day in their forms of decoration. To me personally, this figure on the statue is not exactly one person long ago in the past, but instead is the birth of the proud civilization of the Hylians. It's a manifestation of retelling the old story of the classical side of them when they grew into one land, one power, one nation. So to end this theory video, to me, the statue of the man with the sword or lance was once a long-standing general or soldier that fought for Hyrule's rising, and was not a king like so many claim him to be. It was him that started the culture of the Hylians when man was just that, a man. Until he was needed, he rose up and fought together to create the first founding of Hyrule long after Skyward Sword had passed, long before the legendary hero of legend had passed. The robed man all by himself is the manifestation of all the Hylians combined, looking back proudly at their kingdom. His clothing matches exactly the Proto-Hylian time period, when Link wasn't even born yet, during the first Goddess Hylian War. And once Skyloft was saved many years later, and life was born anew by Link and Zelda and many of their friends, their ancestry created a new hero that sparked the first civilization of mankind, or shall we say Hyliankind, and was worshipped for that. So in the end, maybe everyone was right, it's the hero of men, after all.